My biggest problem was and still is being late. Late for a meeting, late for a haircut, late for an event, and people don't like it. When I was a kid, I read that people who are late tend to be high achievers, and then I made that my personality, and ever since then, I've been late a lot. So I questioned myself, why are you late all the time? Well, a lot of things are on my plate, and it's not like I'm being late on purpose. Stuff is happening. Being late is something that I do when I'm focused on a task, and I've developed a hyper focus. It's one of those things I'm proud of. I can non-jokingly work for 10 hours straight when I'm focused, not including pauses, rest, and just pure work. Then I can rest for 30 minutes, do it all again, go to the gym, work after some, sleep, and then again until the work is done. It happens to me when I'm building stuff, like a website or editing videos, and when I'm focused, I tend to forget things that are scheduled in advance. And at that moment, they're non-existent in my world. I used to miss sales calls that would cost me thousands of dollars, events that partners and brands would invite me to, casual hangouts with friends that I would agree upon, and all because I didn't have a system for remembering things. This had a big negative impact on my relationships with my friends, family, and my partner. Like, imagine ordering a pizza at 6 and the guy delivering it at 11. First of all, you're mad and it fucked up your birthday. And second of all, you don't give a fuck about the pizza anymore. That's what hanging out with me was like. And I'm being serious. I lost friends and business deals because I didn't respect somebody's time. This was a problem in my life. It was a form of chaos and I needed to fix it. Badly. Chaos. Do you feel unorganized? Do you always forget stuff? Do you miss out on things because you're irresponsible? If you do and you're watching this, you feel awful about that. And you should. It's called chaos and it can take over your life very quickly. You know you've got chaos in your life if you feel like something is stopping you from moving forward. Ask yourself, what trait, habit, or lack of those is stopping me from achieving what I want? You will have some answers, and those are probably the ones that are disrupting your life. Most people fall under this because something devastating happens to them. They get fired from their job, somebody in their family dies or gets a nasty disease, a loved one leaves them. Is it relatable? If the answer is yes, you know the feeling. In chaos, you feel various types of emotions like fear, anger, guilt, uncertainty, doubt, and all the variables in between. When these emotions strike, you will start to question everything in your life. And we'll take me as an example. Am I unorganized because my parents didn't teach me how to manage my time when I was a child? Are they bad parents because of that? Was I just born this way? In chaos, you start to plummet down into a series of questions like these that all intertwine into nothing. No answer. It's a vicious cycle that leads nowhere, but that is exactly what it's supposed to be. That is the only purpose of chaos. It's to be confronted. Chaos is a ladder. Peter Baelish, Game of Thrones. What Littlefinger means by this is that chaos is an opportunity to rise. It's not an endless pit of disaster. It's a ladder that you will be climbing once you realize the potential that chaos brings. Characters only get to level up once they beat the monster, and that happens when a challenge arises. A hero needs to level out the playing field by improving himself in order to overcome the monster. If you've ever watched Dragon Ball Z, you would know that Goku trains in the hyperbolic time chamber when a new challenge arises, when a new enemy comes into his world, and during these times he improves greatly, but only once he's faced the enemy. At the peak of their fight is when he truly levels up to his new form. It's the same story with every hero: Goku, Naruto, Superman, and eventually you, the hero of your own story. You must face chaos and convert it to something called order. Order is a clean house, a well-spoken individual, a custom-made suit. With order, everything has its place and works productively. It is also clear, predictable, closed, conservative, and organized. It's for the people that look ahead in time. It's for those thinking 10 years ahead. It's not an adventure. It's a bright, boring, anticipated future for a doctor or a lawyer. And that's why parents tell you to follow the rules, not to cross the street without looking both ways. Go to college, don't talk to strangers, get a stable job. They want a foreseeable, predictable future for you. They want you to live a stable and a happy life. From their perspective, taking risks isn't worth it. And you want some order because it's run by logical thinking and reason. But the question is, do we want order for everything in our life? Chaos versus order. You should be a monster, and then you should learn how to control it. Jordan Peterson. I take a more philosophical approach to my productivity systems, and we'll talk about the apps at the end, but this is the most important part. I'm usually a person of order. Most days I have a schedule and a list of things I need to do and a system I report to. But now and then I tend to break that cycle by traveling for a few days. And I don't go out or hang out with a lot of people, so that's my way of taking rest. And when I'm traveling, I don't work. I don't even bring a laptop with me, and ironically, those are the days when I get most of my breakthrough ideas and inspirations. It's when I have the least amount of order in my life. It's also when the birth of new things happen, so after an idea is born, it's on me to raise it. I have to organize, develop, and make it make sense. This is a general big idea on how I live my life for now, but if you look at other small parts of life, the same concept seems to show up. Let's take training as an example. Most of you reading this train. Training is hard, especially combat sports and weight training. When you do an exercise and go close to failure, aka train hard, you feel pain in your muscles. You suffer for this session, and after that you're sore for a few days. Training is just not comfortable if you're doing it right, but it's also a catalyst for change. If it wasn't for hard training, there would be no visible results. I mean, your body won't get bigger and stronger if you're laying on the couch watching Netflix, and it will only change if you enter a state of change, a state where you feel uncomfortable. Training in this example is a metaphor for chaos, the birth of your new body. So what you do after training is important, and I would even say as important as the training itself. And you know the saying, abs are not made in training, abs are made in the kitchen? Well, that's true. You can train all you want, but if you eat like crap, there will be no abs for you. Recovery is a metaphor for order, a system that takes chaos and puts it into order. These two need to be in harmony and function like a machine. We have to be balanced between chaos and order. It's a thin line that we need to walk on, but the process is pretty clear. Embrace the chaos, the unknown, new experiences, emotions, and the mess that comes with it. Put all of this in order, reflect, organize, make it productive, and create a clear path to travel on. In order to grow, you need to have new experiences, and it's going to be hard and confusing, but then you will get a handle on it and put it where it needs to be. But how does this all relate to productivity? Most people that are reading this will be creatives, and people that were laughing at me for starting to film online in 2020 are now making TikToks and ads to promote their businesses. The creator economy is rising, and everybody wants to be a content creator all of a sudden. And if you do anything creative in your life, you need to have a productivity system. Without a productive system, you won't be able to create consistently. Look, you're not Leonardo da Vinci. You can't drop the greatest painting of all time and then disappear for a couple of years. It just doesn't work that way online. Most of the content you put out is noticeable for only a few days, and maybe you make something super cool and it becomes a standard for quality in that industry, but it would help you if you also put out something frequently. And if you think your work will lose quality because of that, remember that quantity breeds quality. The more you play a video game, the better you get at it. The more levels, the power, everything increases. I tend to look at this as a game, and I try to gamify things so that a lot of boring work becomes so much fun to me. But all that aside, to grow in the digital economy, you need to create. You need to show your work and do it with volume. We have a lot of information in our heads, and every day we take more in. On average, we consume around 34 gigabytes of information a day. That is 200 essay pages, 174 full newspapers, and all the words in The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And that is just an average person. If you work as a creative, that number rises exponentially. We consume and create. That means that we're receiving or making up new information for other people all the time. And because of that, I often experience information overload due to input from devices, media, sound, visuals, and people. It's making me feel burnt out, and that leads to all sorts of unproductive stuff like scrolling on my phone and then taking more information again, and it's just like a vicious cycle, just like in a busy workplace. If you've ever managed like people and done 12-hour shifts at the same times, you know the drill. You're always available to your boss, you're doing paperwork and organizing the team, and you also need to handle demanding customers, and all of that becomes a mess. You feel like you're the only one doing work there and that you're working with complete idiots. In my case, I'm working with a forgettable device that is also an idiot, and it's called my brain, and I don't trust him for a second. He always forgets birthdays. birthdays. He never has anything set up and organized. He makes me look bad about forgetting other people's needs. I just can't depend on him. You have the same problem. Yours is also forgettable and likes cheap dopamine. And because of that, we need to outsource all the thinking and the information to somebody else. Luckily, we live in a digital age where all this is possible. Let me tell you a story. When I worked in construction during the pandemic lockdowns, we were behind on a lot of work. But we had a veteran Russian dude called Sergey who knew everything about removing plaster cast and safety systems in a mall we were working at. Sergey carried us for a week straight. We followed his orders and worked like madmen. It was crazy, but later he told us that he only had a picture of previous plans he did for malls in Moldova and Russia. The guys that we were working for didn't give him any plans, any construction things, nothing. So if it wasn't for the pictures he saved on his phone, we wouldn't have gotten the work done. We probably wouldn't have gotten the paid. And by the way, that was the money I bought my first camera with. So props to Sergey for helping me make it. But the point is that Sergey went off his previous knowledge and work, and that's where the concept of building a second brain comes in. I can't tell you how many times I've had to learn everything again in online business and in school because I haven't taken any notes. Now imagine if me and you documented everything we've ever learned and we could search that database whenever we need it. It would make our lives 10 times easier, and just like Sergey, we would go off our previous knowledge. The worst thing is starting from a blank page because you don't know where you should begin and you end up being confused and having no direction. But if you make a second brain of yours and outsource documentation to him, you will never have to start from scratch ever again. Building a second brain. This whole idea comes from a productivity expert called Tiago Forte, and he wrote a book called Building a Second Brain that all of these ideas are from. So make sure to check that out and follow him on social media. His model of productivity is called CODE. C-O-D-E. C stands for capture, and it tells you that you need to have an app for writing and noting things down. Like anything that resonates with you should be written down. Websites, quotes, important stuff from meetings, or anything that could be of future use. For example, I capture almost everything important, like my morning thoughts, my nightly thoughts, my tweets, and that way I can use them while I write these newsletters and make these YouTube videos for new perspectives. And the apps I use to capture stuff is Shutter for screenshots on my monitor and Notion for note-taking. O stands for organize, and it comes from the idea that we don't have time to revisit things. We organize our folders as book notes or marketing resources, but actually rarely look back on them. Instead, what Tiago suggests is that we organize them by actionability or by taking notes on what we're doing now, like what I was doing a few minutes ago, taking notes on building my second brain for a YouTube video. Thinking I'm going to study marketing today is not the most effective because you end up being all over the place, and instead try to answer a question and organize your notes that way. My question for this week was, what is the best productivity system? And by thinking that way, I'm trying to figure out all the ways I can solve that problem and take notes on it. For apps, I organize my folders this way, Google Drive and Notion and basically everything. D stands for distill, and this is just highlighting what the most important things are from your notes and focusing on those. So just make sure that you only write a brief summary you think is the most important and don't go into heavy detail. E stands for express, and you need to show your work. If you don't express what you've been working on this whole time, this system means nothing. And this doesn't just apply to people working as content creators. There are many ways to showcase your work even if you have a regular job. If you're a project manager, you can make a presentation. If you work as a cook, you can make a new recipe and show the crew your new recipe. If you work in finance, you can make a Google Sheet finance tracker and send it to your friends. This is the pinnacle of doing, showing your work and seeing if what you have to offer is of value to others. To show my work, I use Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, and my website. Now that you have an idea on how to build a second brain, we'll learn a system for how you can organize it for maximum efficiency, and it's called PARA. Projects, areas, resources, and archives. Projects are things that you're actively committed to and that need multiple working sessions in order to be done. And there are two important things that projects have: a goal and a deadline. So every time you start a new project, set a goal and set a deadline. Areas are the things that are never completed and they need maintenance, but they have three elements to them. They have roles, they have responsibilities, and they have ongoing maintenance or standards. These are not so actionable, but they need attention. So things like relationships you want to nurture and improve, or fitness. So things that you don't work every day like hard on, but you maintain or improve slightly over time. Resources are just topics of interest and things that are waiting to be used in the future. So maybe, I don't know, transitions, backgrounds you want to use in your videos, maybe some learning stuff on the fitness side, everything that you want to pull out and make something from. So of course I have a resource folder where I keep all my ebooks, I keep all my educations, courses, etc. that I can pull information from or I can learn from again. Also like places to travel, photos you'll need in the future, client projects that maybe need some, I don't know, adjustment, and brand logos, brand case studies, and everything that you might want to pull from. And the last one is archives, and these are inactive items that act as a cold storage. You don't want to delete things. It took you some time to make them and they are valuable. You just don't know how many times I've gained inspirations from projects I thought I would never use, and there were also a lot of times where I deleted my projects and later regretted it because I found myself in a similar situation, or just wanted to look at some projects from my past for nostalgic purposes. But the point is that storage is cheap nowadays and files don't even take that much space, so you don't have any excuse. Keep everything you finished in the archives. You'll thank me later. A message for creatives. Creating a second brain with code in Para systems is a must for creatives, especially if you post online. It just keeps your ideas and notes organized, making you more efficient. And trust me, it's a game changer. Creativity is chaos. It's a complex process that gives birth to new ideas and takes you through a variety of emotions in the journey of making something remarkable. I can't express how many stages and moods I went through just this week in order to make one newsletter or one video. You also wouldn't want to look at my notes or the first script of this video because they look like crap, and that's why people can't comprehend how content creators learn so fast. I spent about 6 hours a week just researching, then another 8 of writing, then another 5 of filming, and I didn't even account the time for designing, posting, announcements, communications, problems, and all that for just one video to come out. And it all really comes down to transforming creative chaos into order with systems and models like the second brain. You own an unstoppable horse. Your horse might be the strongest, fastest, and full of testosterone, but if you can't tame his energy, he will run in the wrong direction and lose the race. You have to train him and put blinders on him so he can focus all that energy on one thing, one race, one track, and win. And that's why I'm telling you all this philosophical stuff, because you need long-term systems in order to succeed. You need something that you can do today, a month from now, and also 5 years from now. Without productivity, creative people can become lost and never reach their full potential. We were told that creativity is random and that it can be managed and scheduled just because famous painter in 19th century woke up at 3 a.m. to make his drawings. And I really think that is just bullshit spewed up by lazy people, because I've been putting out creative stuff on a schedule for 2 full years now, and I never stopped. I pushed through all the so-called creative blocks and came out with lessons, new knowledge, and content that is worth watching. Getting productive and working on order is just worth it. And even beyond that, I think it's a necessity today. When you get your life in order, you will learn how to sit and focus for an hour, and with only that skill, you're already ahead of 99% of creative people, or people in general. Creativity and productivity work like yin and yang. You need both in your life. Life is not a marathon. It's not a sprint either. It's a marathon consisting of sprints. I realized this once I figured out how to focus. You focus for 2 hours, then you rest, then focus again, then you rest again, and so on. Being a goalkeeper on a soccer team is a good example. You guard your goal for 3 minutes, then wait for 10, then again for 5 minutes, then wait for 15 more minutes, and then 5 to 6 times, and the game is finished. It's about having constant, powerful, short bursts of energy directed to one and one thing only, then fucking off for some time and preparing to do it again. And this really is the best recipe for avoiding creative blocks, but still having a high output of work for people to actually notice. I won't give you action steps this time because I think you need to create a balance of order and chaos in your life, and you do that by taking these ideas and exploring them by yourself. So go on, start a company, make content, train 3 times a day, swim in cold-ass lakes, work 80 hours a week, take as many inputs as you can, go crazy, learn from them, set yourself up, tell a story about it, repeat, and watch yourself grow. Thank you for watching, it has been a pleasure. P.S. If you've liked the video, please share it with somebody of your choice. It takes you 2 minutes and it means so much to me. Also, you can check out my other social media, there's more content, or sign up for my newsletter. It comes weekly and with more visuals. It's basically this video but in written form. And here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications for upcoming videos every Monday at 9 p.m. Dubai time, 5 p.m. London time, and 12 p.m. New York time. That's it, see you on the next one.